Robbie Williams, how are you?
I'm very good. Sorry to keep you waiting.
You're perfectly fine. Great to talk to you. Reveal is the new book. It's a follow-up to Feel, I suppose. And it is very revealing, Robbie Williams. It's warts and all. It's inside the head of Robbie Williams.
Well, there's kind of the guy that gets on stage and is gregarious and full of himself and imbues some form of confidence and puts on the mask and goes out and entertains, and then there's the man behind the mask, and that's what the book's about. So I found myself doing lots of interviews for the book, and normally, the interviews that I do are kind of like fluff pieces about my wife and about entertaining and about music, etc., etc. And this is about like the psychology that goes on for me day to day. So it's an interview. It's an interesting interview process for me because people are saying, "So what's going on? What's going on with your mind?"
You're a contradiction, really, because when you think of the statistics, most tickets sold by one person in one day back in 2005 or thereabouts, 1.6 million, and yet you suffer from chronic lack of self-esteem. It's a huge contradiction, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also a powerful source of energy to constantly prove myself wrong and constantly prove people wrong. I think that's why I've managed to achieve what I've achieved, because the force is strong with me.
Do you constantly fear you're going to be, somebody's going to say, aha, we've copped on to you, Robbie. it's all over now.
Yeah, I mean, I've amassed a history now where it's kind of impossible to take, those statistics away from me. So the charlatan that I thought I was is kind of disappearing, but there are elements there that are still there, and I live in big houses and drive nice cars, and I've always felt as though there's kind of like, they're not mine, they're my rich uncle that's going to say, thank you very much for looking after them, now can I have it back? That being said, that's dissipating. I'm 43 now. The houses feel like mine.
Yeah, of course the worry is then, if you lose that lack of self-esteem, what drives you on?
I think that I'm all right. Like I say, the force is strong with me. I think it's something that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. So I'm good. There'll be albums, there'll be tours, there'll be books, there'll be faux pas that I make on chat shows, etc. for years to come. I don't think I've got to worry about losing the force.
No, the Robbie Williams force. I was at Phoenix Park back in 2003, 135,000 people there. That's only been topped by the Pope, you know that?
Yeah, I know. The Pope didn't sell as many tickets as me, which...
it was a free gig, yeah.
That's quite something. I can remember doing Phoenix Park, and it actually, it's a flat surface that went way back and way back and way back, and then it turned round a corner, and the corner seemed to be like a mile away from the stage, and I realised that people were around the corner too. I don't think they could even see the stage. It was an amazing sight and something I'll never forget.
And you did say something, and was it sort of platitudes to us who were, in the palm of your hand? You said English blood but an Irish heart.
I also said at the end of my gig in Dublin, I said when I get to heaven and St. Peter comes and meets me, or God comes and meets me, I'll say, God, why did you make me born in the wrong country? And it is a platitude, but also, the Irish crowd give me something that the rest of the world don't. And I was in the moment when I said that, and I meant it, and it was because just the energy that you guys create. And I know you hear that all the time. The reason you hear that all the time is because it's the truth. There's an energy and a madness that's palpable, and a love and a complete embracing of what I'm doing while I'm up there. And other places come close, but there's nowhere like Ireland.
And Aviva this year, and you did Joe Dolan's You're Such a Good Looking Woman, and there's a family history there with Joe Dolan, isn't there?
Yeah, my dad worked with Joe a lot in the 70s. My dad was a comedian stroke singer, and he did a lot of cabaret, he did a lot of comparing, worked a lot with Joe. Joe's bounced me up and down on his knee when I was a baby, And Dad's always told me the stories about Joe, so he's always had a special place in my heart.
Yeah. I was saying at the start it's warts and all, and there's 2 pages of tweets, negative reaction to you ringing in the new year on the BBC last year into this year. You didn't have to put those in. You could have said, no, I don't want those in. Explain why.
I didn't read them.
Did you not? Did you not? I won't read them to you.
Yeah.
But you obviously know they're there.
I suppose, people talk about social media affecting people's mental health, and I think it's really true. I also have a propensity to go and find, because it's like I think bad things about myself, and it's like an illness, and you kind of want to be backed up with your thoughts about yourself, and you go, there it is in black and white, everybody hates me. So I think the reason why all those tweets were left in was sort of kind of to explain or to give evidence of, look, this happens, and imagine what that does to somebody's head. And that's why they were left in.
It's there for us to read, but you've never read them, which is...
No, I started to, and then I was like, because, I had to proofread the book before it came out, and I was like, I'm going to skip that bit. So I skipped it.
And you engage with fans online. There's upfront, and it's often playful, but sometimes, and it's reprinted in the book, which is called Reveal, where a few Italian fans, are a bit upset because you didn't stop and give them autographs coming out of a radio station once, and you write a full A4 page back in reply, and you lay out the facts that you're agoraphobic and you're a people pleaser, and the two don't go well together, and that's why you may have passed them by. And
I may have passed them by on that particular time. There's at that particular time we're talking about, I was in Italy, and I, signed autographs outside the hotel. There was different radio stations where I'd done it, and then, I go on this thing called Upfront, which is on my website, and people come and chat to me. Occasionally I'm on there, quite often I'm not. And, it's like if you people kind of feel as though they own you, and if you don't do exactly what they want you to do, then they can quite often be very upset. And I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to explain what goes on for me on a day-to-day basis, and that's what that particular part of the book's about.
And your description of fame is brilliant. It's like the person in the restaurant who's celebrating their birthday.
Yeah, it's kind of like success is intoxicating, and I love it, and it's addictive. Fame's very odd. Fame for me feels like that moment when everybody's singing happy birthday to you, and you kind of like, the people are well-meaning and they're saying a nice thing, but you kind of, for me, when people sing happy birthday, I just want it to stop. I don't want it to start. It kind of feels isolating and weird and strange, and then you can't wait for happy birthday to you to stop being sung so you can eat the cake. Yeah. And that's what fame's like. It's like, I just want to get out of people's way, be invisible, not be known, and eat the cake instead.
But you've been visible for what, like 25 years now, isn't it? Close on 25
27.
years. 27. Sorry, 27 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I auditioned for Take That when I was 15. I got in when I was 16. So for Take That started for me in 1990. It's been 27 years, nearly 28 years.
And you're recognisable, you're not the type of guy who can melt into a crowd. I was just looking, Life Through a Lens is 20 years old this year.
Is it? I didn't know. It feels as though it's longer, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. 20 years. I did see that it was 20 years since Angels was released.
And that was on Life Through a Lens. Yeah.
A lot's gone on since then. There's been Nebworth, Phoenix Park, Lanes, gigs, albums, books, films.
Children,
wives, rehabs. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in Reveal,
Yeah.
Thank God I did a lot of interesting stuff.
And in Rehab, because you sang Rehab at the Aviva as well, do you look at, say, the life of Amy Winehouse and say, there but for the grace of whoever, go me?
I just look at Amy Winehouse as a tragic case of, lost talent. I suffer with the same ism and it's in me to sabotage and maybe do things that would take me off the planet. So yeah, I do, but it's not something that I constantly think about whenever I hear a song or see an image.
Your children, Charlie and Teddy, are 3 and 5, is it? Or I was trying to do the maths.
3 and 5, yeah.
So have you got Elf on the Shelf in your house?
We've got Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah.
Teddy named the elf Dottie.
Right.
Dottie's male. And the first thing that Teddy does every morning is she's very anxious to find out what Dottie's been up to overnight. Last night, Dottie has been in the bread bin and has been feeding some plastic ducks that reside in our kitchen. And if you haven't got people, I mean, I'm doing free promo for Elf on the Shelf, but it's become an integral part of our Christmas, and it really fills the heart.
Yeah, it does. It's sort of Santa's representative in your house. It makes it more real, doesn't it? Yeah. There's a lovely line in the book about Take That. You say there's an invisible cord that keeps pulling us back, and you're happy that cord is there.
Yeah, and we're kind of, the invisible cord is there, keeps pulling us back, and we will ride again. I'm not sure when that's going to be, but it's always an option, and it's always an option that I'm happy that I've got. I enjoy writing with them. I enjoy hanging out with them. I enjoy being able to hide in public on stage with them too. It's like when there's 4 or 3 other boys filling a stage with you. There's safety in numbers. Yeah,
because there's that moment where you were in South Africa and you were doing some work for UNICEF beforehand, and you walked into a function room in a hotel, and you said, I think the line in the book was, I wish there was an edge, as in the edge, just to take the glare off you, just for a couple of seconds, so that they were looking at something else and not at you all the time.
Yeah, I think that, that's what happened in 2006 when I retired erroneously and then came back with an album and a tour in 2009 or 2010, can't remember what it was. But I was terrified to come back, and I released an album. It did really well, but I barely promoted it, and I didn't tour it. And I knew that I was just about to rejoin Take That. And I left them in New York, having written the bulk of the Progress album with the boys. And there I was going off on to do my promo for my album. I just really didn't want to do it. And so I sort of skipped through that as quickly as I could, and then got with the boys as quickly as I could too. And being with the lads, like I said before, it did help me to re-find my feet and hide on stage amongst the safety of numbers, yeah.
Speaking of the age, Bono comes up, obviously, and everybody has a Bono story, and there's a great Bono story in the book.
Yeah, I went to Bono's house. There was a party happening, and the great and good were there, and I managed to get hold of some magic mushrooms, so I wasn't really part of the planet, and the party was incredible. And it was amazing to be sharing the same airspace as a lot of people that were there. And I'm in love with Bono. I'm in love with U2. I'm a massive fan. And I was wandering around the house, and I stopped, and I saw the most beautiful painting that I'd ever seen in the world. Of all time, Bono owned this painting, and of course Bono was going to own this painting because it's got an amazing eye. And all of this is going on in my mind, and Bono comes up to me and he says, I said, Bono, this is the most amazing painting I've ever seen in my life. And Bono said, Robbie, that's the window.
Yeah. Did you feel a little bit silly when...
Yeah, well, fortunately I was too out of it to actually comprehend the embarrassment that I'd created for myself.
You're always a star on Graham Norton, and you must enjoy doing it. So on last Friday night, your wife Ada turned up in the red chair. She was about to tell a story which was obviously going to be embarrassing for you, and you pulled the lever.
Yeah, I did. I got in a lot of trouble. I didn't think I was going to get in trouble. I just thought that I would come off and like my wife would give me a fist bump and go, "That was really funny. We did some good stuff. It made people laugh." But I came off and I was like, "How did I do, babe?" And she said, "Well, my feelings are hurt a little bit." So it took a trip to a very big department store to appease her and apologize. But I genuinely didn't think anything about it. I just thought, well, Elton John made me do it. That's my excuse.
Right.
Elton was next to me, and Ida sat down, and Elton just went, "Pull it." And how could I refuse the instruction of a national treasure? So I pulled it, but I did get in trouble.
But you are a big romantic, and your proposal is there to Ada, and there's that lovely bit where you have a falling out, and the day after is Valentine's Day, and you write her the note, "I love you more than FIFA, football, Man United, Port Vale, sweet and sour chicken," and it goes on and on and on. And in that, it says so much about you, and obviously, more importantly, the love for Ada, which is a lovely thing. So MDMA is mentioned there. Yourself, you love her more than yourself.
Yeah, I think that I'm a very tactile person. This is how I show my romance. My romance is that if Ida's in the room with me, then I'm either holding her hand, or I've got my hands around her waist, or I'm giving her a kiss. And we watch the TV, and when we watch the TV, we hold hands. That's how my romance works. And what happens was I kind of made a rod for my own back when the relationship started, because I wanted to impress. And then what happens is, as the years go on, you realize that you've got to repeat what you did last year. And to be honest, I can't be bothered. And not only can I not be bothered, it's kind of like impossible for me to meet the bar that I once did when we were 3 years into our relationship. Like I say, I'm really romantic, but I'm tactile. That's how I show it. And, there was a problem with me not being as romantic as Ida would like, which spurred me on to write the list of "I love you more than." Yeah. And it's something that I grapple with because, for me, if nobody mentioned my birthday, I wouldn't be bothered at all. I'd be like, I got through the day and nobody said anything. Same with Christmases, same with New Year's. But Ida's a lady, and this particular lady likes romance, and she likes holiday seasons. And I find that I've got to step up to the bar an awful lot when it's kind of not in me. But when I do my bits of romance, I'm really trying. But there's always another one around the corner that I have to live up to the hype of what I've already done.
Do you think people around the world will read this? I'm thinking about psychiatrists and psychotherapists and psychologists, and they'll be offering you help because it is that revealing. It's nearly like a case study.
Yeah, like I said, there's the guy that gets on stage, and then there's the guy that goes home, and this is a book about the guy that goes home.
And why did you feel that you had to write this book?
I didn't really.
No, I know. Your man wrote it, but
but I didn't. I didn't really feel as though it had to exist.
No, right, okay, right.
It's just. It only comes to the point where you're like, why do you feel as though this book has to be out there? That I'm like, actually, don't know. I really like hanging out with my mate Chris Heath, and I really get to hang out with him an awful lot, and I really enjoy his company. The first book, Feel, was important for me because there was so many lies out there about me that I thought I had to have a voice amongst the shit. And then this book, I'm like, I think I want to put it out because I want people to know about me. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Well,
Chris, let me ask Chris, why do I feel as though this book should exist? I'm asking Chris Heath.
Chris Heath wrote the book.
I still want people to know the truth about you.
I think I still want people to know the truth about me.
Yeah.
And I want to be interesting. That's very important. I want to entertain, and I want to be interesting. And it's all part of the show business, and I'm trying to embrace the madness.
And do you want to be understood, I suppose?
Yeah, I suppose that I do want to be understood, warts and all.
Yeah.
If you're going to hate me, at least hate me for the right things.
A lot about food in it, and we'll leave you on this. So you're sleep eating, are you? I've heard about this phenomenon before. Just explain what happens.
Sleep eating has stopped now.
Oh, it's stopped now. Good. Okay.
Yeah, it has stopped now, but it was with me for nearly 2 years, and it was nightly, and I was kind of living like a monk during the day, dietary-wise, and then I was completely undoing it in my sleep. And how it started off was I would wake up, and I was thinking, that's an odd dream that I've just had. I had a dream about me going to the kitchen and tucking into lots of carbohydrates, and I said, that's odd. But it's interesting. I had a eating dream. 2 weeks into it, I'm sort of go to the loo in the morning and I see crumbs all the way to the toilet, and I'm like, where are those crumbs from? Turns out that those crumbs are from me. I wake up. Well, I don't wake up. I sleepwalk. To the kitchen and I start eating, and I had no idea that it was happening. And and we tried all sorts. We tried locking me in to the bedroom, but I'd escape through the window and go in through another door.
It's a recognised condition, isn't it? It's a recognised condition.
Yeah, there's a huge element of comedy
in that
to it.
We were talking to John Ronson a couple of years ago, and he hung out with you for a while, and he told us about your fascination with UFOs. And we had a lady in last week, Emma Reynolds. She's made a brilliant documentary called The Farthest about Voyager, which was launched in 1970 and all that sort of thing. Which is bringing me now. Do you believe there's others out there?
I don't know what I believe. To say I believe would mean that I have conclusive evidence of
what do you think?
What do I think? Well, I've seen stuff that I can't explain. I don't know if it's others, what they are, what it is. I've had a UFO right above my head, and totally sober, less than 150 feet above my head, and there it was, and it was silent, and it was, the silence and the shape of it and how huge it was awe-inspiring. And as far as I'm concerned, because somebody was sat next to me and saw it too, that happened, and it's unexplainable. And there's lots of testimony and, people that are paid to be observant and have jobs that dictate the safety of our countries that have seen and experienced too. And I think there's something going on. Do I believe? No. Do I believe my own eyes? Not always. But I'm interested. I'm really interested.
Yeah. The book is hugely interesting. Reveal. It's Robbie Williams and Chris Heath, his mate, and Chris gets access to your life and your head that other people wouldn't have got, obviously. So thank you very much. It's in bookshops now. Thanks very much.